It's August 1971, and the lineup outside the Troubadour on Sunset Boulevard snakes 3 deep around the block. Tonight's performer doesn't have a #1 hit. In fact, his records barely chart. What would make people line up for a virtual nobody? It's rumored Stevie Wonder has been buying this artist's albums by the armful, passing them out to his family, his friends, just about anybody. Quincy Jones called him the finest composer I know. As the lights dim and the audience claps in anticipation, Donny Hathaway slides behind the electric piano. When the first notes of What's Going On float out, you can hear the audience rise to the music. 16 seconds in, and they're his. That's the magic of Donny Hathaway Live. Released in 1972, this album doesn't just document a live performance, it drops the listener into the room and the moment. This is no ordinary live record. It's a masterpiece and one of the greatest live recordings ever captured on stage. Donny Hathaway Live on this edition of Dynasty Vinyl. By the early 1970s, Donny Hathaway was more than just another talented singer. He had worked with Curtis Mayfield, cut records at Chess in Chicago, and put out 2 promising solo albums, Everything is Everything in 1970 and a self-titled follow-up in 1971. But as good as those albums were, they didn't capture the full picture. Donny's gift didn't live in studio walls, it lived on stage. Donny could step into a room of strangers and by night's end have every soul clapping, shouting, and moving in unison. Jerry Wexler at Atlantic Records saw this clearly. To Wexler, Donny's genius wasn't just in his voice, it was in the conversations he had with the crowd. He called it communion. This incredible way Donny made people feel, how he could connect with people right there in the room. To Wexler, this was true magic. And if you wanted to capture that magic, to really feel what Donny was about, you had to be there in the fire of the moment. You had to catch him live. So 2 club dates were booked. The Troubadour in Hollywood that August, and the Bitter End in New York that October. 2 coasts, 2 very different worlds. The laid-back sun and shimmer of LA against the grit and restless energy of New York. And at the center of it all, one artist at the height of his power. Donny's story begins in gospel. Raised in St. Louis by his grandmother Martha Pitts, a gospel singer herself, he grew up steeped in church music. At the age of 4, Donny was touring the St. Louis gospel circuit with his grandmother under the stage name of Little Donny Pitts. By high school, he was a prodigy, earning a scholarship to Howard University where he absorbed jazz, classical, and the contemporary music of his peers. That mix of gospel spirit, classical discipline, and jazz improvisation, combined with a selection of contemporary hits, all comes together on Donny Hathaway Live. As mentioned at the top of the episode, Donny opens his set with What's Going On, Marvin Gaye's urgent plea released just months earlier. Marvin's studio version was lush, layered, and meticulously produced. Donny strips it back and he lays it bare. His voice carries the urgency of the song in a way that feels like Donny speaking directly to you about the state of the world. For an artist still relatively unknown, this was a genius move. Start with a song everyone knows, get them on your side, then deliver it in a way they've never heard before. On Carole King's You've Got a Friend, Donny turns her gentle reassurance into a gospel revival. After the first verse, the crowd takes over the chorus. They sing unasked. The whole room lifted together as if he's guiding a choir. That's his gospel roots at work, not just performing to the people, but performing with them. And of course, Jealous Guy. John Lennon's classic off his album Imagine, released around the same time that Live was recorded. Lennon wrote it out of insecurity and doubt. Donny turns it into a raw, unguarded confession that feels like he's lived it himself. Listen to that blues piano Donny plays in the opening riff. It's Donny's way of telling the audience, I'm about to come clean. For me, this song was my introduction to the album, and it stands as one of the greatest reinterpretations of a song I've ever heard. To this day, it remains my favorite cover song of all time. And a chestnut that didn't make the record, and one of my favorites from Donny's repertoire, A Song for You. Donny performed it as an encore at the Troubadour. It wasn't included on the album, but it was captured to tape. If you've never heard it, stop what you're doing and go look for it on YouTube or any number of streaming services out there. It's one of the most transcendent performances I've ever heard, and if I have one call to action in this video, it's that. Go find that version and give it a listen. What makes this album extraordinary is the audience isn't just listening, they're playing a role. On the Ghetto, Donny begins to build a groove so infectious an audience member shouts.
All right, this is it.
From there, Donny leads the band and the audience into a jam, allowing space for Earl de Ruin to stretch out on congas, and ultimately building to a sing-along where Donny steps back and lets the audience carry it. The line between audience and artist disappears as they become part of the band. Cornell Dupree recalls the crowd's reaction as being into it like crazy. He has gone on to say of his performance, "It's one of the most electrifying nights of my career." On the track Voices Inside, Willie Weeks said of his bass solo, "Everywhere I go, somebody knows my name because of that bass solo." If you listen closely to that track, Willie starts with a simple groove, almost teasing the audience. Then he begins to stretch it, bending time, sliding across the neck with that fluid, almost vocal phrasing. The band locks in behind him, but it's Weeks who carries the moment. And the crowd, they know it. You can hear the cheers rising, people shouting, encouraging him on. This was a career-defining moment for Willie, and it's all captured live. That's why this record endures. It's not polished to perfection, it's alive. You hear the laughter, the shouts, the call and response. You can feel the intimacy of those rooms. You don't just listen to this record, you join it. Live was something of a breakthrough for Donny Hathaway, his most visible solo success yet. The album cracked the Billboard Top 20 and earned what would be his first gold certification. But even as the crowds rose to their feet, Hathaway's own standards were pushing him further. In 1972, he said, "I'm naturally happy with the sales, but the album isn't as good as I would have liked it. I've got to polish myself up for the next one, and I'm sure that it will be of a better quality. I'm always striving for something higher than my last." That moment reveals something essential. For Donny, triumph didn't mean settling, and that striving, chasing what's next, is part of what I believe has kept Live alive in people's hearts nearly 50 years later. So let me ask you, where does Donny Hathaway Live sit in your life? Do you remember the first time you heard it? Do you have a favorite track on the album? Drop your stories in the comments below. I would love to hear them all. And if you're discovering this record for the first time, trust me, it will not disappoint. If this album doesn't leave you smiling ear to ear by the end, I don't think I want to know you. I'm not being serious, of course, but the album is that good, and it's nothing short of a religious experience for me. If you've enjoyed this toe dip into Donny Hathaway Live, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Ling Dynasty for Dynasty Vinyl. Thanks for watching.